Four-time winner of the Boston and New York Marathons, Bill Rodgers joins me. Thank you, Bill, for taking the time to talk running and life.
Joe, it is good to be back on your show again.
For all these years, why do you still enjoy talking about running?
Probably because I started when I was 15 years old in '63. It's just been such a elemental, crucial part of my life. I suppose if you got into baseball when you were a kid, you still would be out there with your kids doing that. So I think it's the same sort of thing. But I also think this sport, it's such an easy access sport. You need your shoes, your shorts, and singlet, and you're on your way, and you can run anywhere at any time. So it fits into people's lifestyle, into their jobs, and that sort of thing.
Was there some aspect of your childhood that motivated you to become a distance runner?
Yes, I started, my brother Charlie and I, our best friend Jason, we all ran they used to have the gym class mile you would run. And this was during the JFK era. The President's Council on Physical Fitness and Sports was beginning, and I had the fastest time in the gym class mile as a sophomore. So as they were starting cross country a few weeks later, and I went up for it, and I liked it right away. And so we had a lot of fun. It was really so low key. Today, the kids, the young people, the teenagers, they train much more, much harder than we did. Still, if you have fun with the sport, you'll stay with it.
Running in the early 70s, many people viewed runners as crazy weirdos, didn't they?
I think sometimes they realized that we were working out and then running as the backbone in a sense of endurance, cardiovascular health and fitness, and they could see, football players and other athletes, basketball players running. But to see someone out on the roads running for long ways, it's true. There were a lot of myths about marathoning, for example, and road racing. And women were not allowed to enter until the 70s because the International Olympic Committee did not allow them to take part in events at the Olympic Games like the marathon or the Boston Marathon or New York City. So it took a while for that to change. Once women came in, they're now half of the sport, and there are millions of runners across America. And I always say that women changed the sport into a family sport because they brought their kids. I have 2 daughters. I've run with my kids before, and it's a sport where you have to kind of explore what you want to do. I ended up becoming a marathoner because I moved to Boston, and I saw the Boston Marathon. And I said, wow, I was a smoker at the time. I joined the Y, I quit my smoking, and because the more you get into the sport, the less you want to smoke or anything, you start focusing.
From 1975 to 1980, you were the #1 name in marathons. How did you maintain that pace and also the distractions that go with it? When fame comes along, many times people change, but you really stayed the same. You were very approachable, but I'm sure you had all kinds of people that wanted your time.
Everything did change as the sport was. We were attempting to move the sport to a professional level where we could be paid for our effort at New York City Marathon, Philadelphia Marathon, Boston Marathon, all the races. That happened in 1981. A lot of runners, Tom Fleming from New Jersey, Frank Shorter from Colorado, Greg Meyer from Michigan, Patty Dillon from Connecticut. All these runners, we all tried to change the sport a bit better because we felt it wouldn't not only be better for the athletes, but it would be better for everyone to have a chance to become an athlete and live that life. Not that you have to run the marathon, but that maybe you find out, you feel better when you walk or you run or you swim or you bike. So that was my attitude. Let's push it. And not everyone wanted to change. The international body didn't want to change, nor did the American track and field leadership, but they finally did. And I think it's been better because look at the numbers of participants we have today. And the sport is just growing and growing and growing worldwide. It's a worldwide sport now.
Mid-30s come along. Time starts to catch up with everybody. And did you begin struggling and realizing that your time were not improving? You see younger guys coming in and racing against them, and you're trying to maintain world-class status. Was that difficult for you mentally and physically? How did you accept that?
It is difficult because you're used to doing well. You won this race or that race, and suddenly you can't win anymore, and that's it. It's over. And so athletes have a certain lifespan at each level that they're at. But what you do, we have age group competition in our sport, which is just terrific. And so does swimming and cycling, that sort of thing. So you can keep going, and that's what I do today. I run around 20 races a year, which I've always done. But I don't run the marathon anymore. I have backed off. I'm 69 years old. I ran the marathon 23 years. I like road racing, 5 miles, 7 miles. I like the Falmouth road race, the Bix 7-miler in Iowa, the Cherry Blossom in D.C. I go to the Philadelphia Marathon in November and meet the runners at the expo. I love meeting the new runners. A lot of them, never had a coach. They were never on a sports team, and they're trying to become athletes. And you can do it. You can do it in this sport. You just have to take time, find the shoes you like, and a running partner. and then you're going to go. You're going to keep going and going.
When I heard the news about the Boston Marathon bombing, I was obviously concerned about the victims. Your name came to my mind right away because everyone thinks of the Boston Marathon and Bill Rodgers. How did that affect you? It had to be personal because you're associated with Boston.
You know, I felt that way in an indirect way because, you know, I don't think these bombers had any feeling about the marathon. It was just a big crowd of people, so many people watching the race. They were after the spectators. So I understood that. But I knew nothing is going to stop the Boston Marathon. You know, nothing. It's 120 plus years old, and the people of Boston are very feisty. And there's no way that was going to happen. I had friends who were running there, and my brother was down near there, and one of my daughters. So I said, you know, what is this? But when I saw what looked like blood on the sidewalks near the finish area, I said, yeah, I know what this is. But I think marathoners were really kind of nuts and bolts people. And, you know, we're just like the cops or the people, the first responders. We're going to respond in the right way. We're going to stick together because this is an international sport, which you can't stop. You know, it's global. Are you going to fight against the whole world? That's a losing proposition, I think.
What will it take to break the 2-hour marathon? There are scientists and engineers have a project trying to break the 2-hour mark.
You know, that's a great question, Joe, because, you know, the science of sports training and competition has changed so much, and taking a look at achievement and records on a psychological basis, or can it be done? You know, we would think back to the days of Roger Bannister when he became the first person to run sub 4-minute mile. People didn't think it could be done. He was a doctor. He understood how the human body works. But I think there's more than that. It's just also you have to believe in yourself. And I think if you have a coach who is like that, who really believes in you, you know, you can take a look at an athlete. Let's take a look at Michael Phelps. How did he win all those medals? How did he do so well? Well, I read his book, and his motto was, impossible is nothing. In other words, he believed that there is nothing that's impossible, that you can achieve and achieve. And so I think whether we can crack the 2-hour barrier, we're not that close to it right now. I've always been a bit of a skeptic. We're at around the 2-hour and 3-minute mark, and we've been there about 15 years, 20 years, and the best in the world are going for it. To do it in a legitimate race course will be very challenging. That is for sure.
You look at all these years of running. I'm sure you've had some bizarre circumstances, things occurred to you. Can you relate a story about something funny that happened during your years of running?
There's a lot of crazy things all the time, you know, getting lost on the run from your training partners, that sort of thing. But once I was running a 30K race in Boston, in Newton area. It was wintertime. I was running with a couple of my buddies, and one, Vinny Fleming, he was running ahead. He was winning the race, and but it was a blizzard. You could hardly see where you're going. Well, he literally ran into a sign and fell down to the ground. He got back up. I mean, it's just so bizarre, but it kind of shows you how tricky our sport is, because we're out there with Mother Nature, all kinds of weather. That night on the local news, there was Vinny running into a street sign, you know, in the middle of a blizzard. No wonder people kind of thought we were crazy, people who tried these events. But yet again, I think it's partly, you know, it's that human spirit, like, yes, I'm going to do it, I can do it. And Vinny was brave in that attempt. And every runner is. Everyone who goes out to the local store, gets their shoes, and gets out the door. You're making you move. You are making you move.
Finally, Bill, what's the future for you?
You know, for me, I'm going to try to keep going. I'll be 70 years old December 23rd. I'm an old-timer officially, and I'm kind of stuck in that 65 to 69 age group. There's no respect there. You have to be 70. Then you get some respect. People think, wow, you're really old. And then you have a chance to do a little better. I love the sport. I've always loved it, and I hope to keep running some of these races, which I've run for so many years. The sport is priceless. It's just wonderful, and it's worth exploring by anybody. You know, you don't have to run the marathon. If you can do a 5K, about 3 miles, you're doing something great for your health. And our health is so key. And we're starting to understand that more and more, and how these sports like running and swimming, cycling, rowing, they're so important to our health and fitness.
Bill, thanks again for joining me. Appreciate it, and best of luck to you.
Thank you a lot, Joe. It is great to talk to you again.